Yo, what is up? We are getting back into the back testing. This is session number 5, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, quick high time frame analysis. Bitcoin was in that downtrend, broke high time frame structure to bullish. Now we are seeing a move up, and locally we saw some exhaustion in trend here. Saw the range creation with the compression. And there's a couple different ways that this can play out. Some scenarios we have pre-planned. We got that supply above, some POIs below. We can definitely see deeper retracements prior to the next bullish leg, because we are now in an uptrend, so we can expect another bullish leg or range creation. So we have some POIs that we can look for accumulations in. If we sweep this low, accumulating, tapping into this liquidity POI, that can be nice. But locally we have this compression range. Wait, I'm just going to clean this up just to illustrate it in a cleaner fashion. And, just overall, we can extend that guy. Cleaning this up a bit, right? So, locally within this compression, we got the local first move, fake move for the higher time frame first move, fake move. That was, the perspective I've been looking at it from. And then we just got this bullish breaker structure. So we might see the rotation back up, potentially for an accumulation within this range. That is a potential scenario. Or, this could have just been the first move, fake move here. Although it didn't sweep any liquidity, it could have just been that first move, fake move that is going to create that bullish or the bearish leg to the downside. And we can just look for accumulations in these regions. So, either way, we are locally distributing here. It's not the highest probability location for a distribution, due to the fact that you just broke your structure to bullish after an extended down move, especially if we are expecting that first move, fake move. And, this is the first distribution after, I guess you did have one other market structure pull, which is decent, but it's not even a true market structure pull because you took out that low. Yeah, so it's not the highest probability location for a distribution for sure. The current duration is about a day. Let's hide this for now. So yeah, so that's the range we are locally inside of. Would be much better to see price come a bit higher, more exhaustion before getting a distribution. Okay, moving on to ETH. ETH here is technically in a confirmed distribution, but the context is semi-counter due to the extended move to the downside. So this, is your distribution kind of at the bottom of this pivot. So it's not the highest probability distribution. That's also why I did not short it here on this break. We locally have seen an extended move to the downside with, a sweep of that local low and a range creation. So, we could look at it from the perspective of it being an accumulation here. I don't like to pull ranges like that when you have, your third type of a distribution right there. Highest probability play is going to be, a move back up into this POI. High probability supply right there and a distribution, some sort of distribution there. So yeah, locally, this isn't the highest probability location for a distribution. Just your first move up after breaking that structure. But technically you are in a confirmed distribution on the higher time frame, so that puts you in a pro environment, but locally you're semi-counter, and this distribution itself was in a semi-counter environment. So things to keep in mind when looking at that range. You did have also a nice bottoming formation here, so you might get a bit more relief to the upside before retracement. XRP, very similar to ETH. Distribution in that semi-counter environment after having the extended move to the downside. Extended move to the downside, distribution range, and now locally we are getting an extended move to the downside, lots of sweeps to the low, where we have then seen, some sort of a compression here with the liquidity sweep to the upside, so I labeled that as manipulation. So this is contextually locally here looking a bit better from the distribution perspective with these liquidity lows, high probability POI right below price. So you may want to come and sweep these lows to form an accumulation range, but the primary focus here is going to be on an accumulation play. So, you know, the distribution is still just, you know, within the context of the overall market, not the highest probability. So we want to be very careful with confirmations if we are to trade a distribution in this environment and have it be, you know, that no room for error, like high quality setup. Or else, you know, the best play locally here is going to be a sweep of this high that can create the range high for, you know, that potential accumulation that we can watch for. Tapping into this high probability supply POI, getting a more extended move, leaving this liquidity as a target. Excuse me. We're also building lots of higher time frame lows right here. Lots of daily lows stacking up there. Yeah, so quality primary lows. Yeah, Solana. I know this is Doge. Doge. We were in that higher time frame range. We saw some exhaustion to the downside, liquidity sweeps on either end, and then a compression range. Locally within this compression, we've gotten, you know, what could be the first move, fake move, and then we could look for, you know, reversal back up. But this first move, fake move could come a bit deeper, and this accumulation is looking like it's, you know, lacking some follow through. So if price can come down and use this as exhaustion prior to an actual, you know, another range creation right here, that's going to be your ideal scenario to long that back up. So yeah, that's a nice long we can look at there. But, you know, currently we are just in an accumulation, so if we do just get a move up, wouldn't be too surprising. But yeah, nothing tradable in there. The lag's coming back. And Solana here. Solana's looking a bit more bearish with this distribution that we had here. Compression, first move, fake move, some sort of a distribution here. Another perspective that we were making on Solana. High time frame context, by the way, is we front ran this low right here, then came up into supply with some exhaustion, then a break structure bearish. So seeing a rotation back down wouldn't be unheard of. Although we are, you know, I'm not necessarily going to call for it because we are very, very low. Very extended move to the downside. Okay. And, you know, another perspective you can take on this is that this entire thing is your range and this is your compression. That, you know, lower time frame compression went over into a higher time frame compression where you're now getting your first move, fake move that might want to squeeze price up. So, you know, while we're in this confirmed distribution, that's, you know, how I'm going to be looking at it, but I'm keeping myself open to the other scenario of, you know, the fact that we could be getting a first move, fake move out of the compression out to the downside right here. Also, with this move happening on your weekly open is interesting. But yeah, I'm going to be watching for a distribution up here, sweeping that POI. So this one is the highest probability context for the distribution out of the pairs. So yeah, just going to be watching things locally here, seeing if we can get high probability confirmations and potentially taking a distribution trade, although it is semi-counter, so I'm going to be very careful with it if I do take a trade. Don't want any room for error. Where Bitcoin's already, you know, not necessarily having the best third top POI. Kind of like this. Yeah, it's kind of like that. That's all you really have. So that's already looking lower quality. ETH. Hate to mark out all of these POIs just for this to get invalidated, but we're going to see. That's pretty clean. And Solana, I think we front ran that high right there. Yeah, we did. So actually we're watching ETH. Popped up. Same with Bitcoin. Do I even want to look at that as a range anymore? Yeah, we're expanding up. Seeing what the other pairs are doing. Solana swept the low prior to expanding up. So Solana completed its accumulation. Doge still working its way up. Taking its time for sure. XRP just ranging. Yeah. Not seeing any opportunity in the near future right here. So we do actually have Solana tapping into a pretty high probability POI. So I'm gonna watch Solana here locally. Thing is, we are in that BULPS region, so I gotta be super careful with that confirmation if I am to take a trade there. Where you have the model. You have the model hit a technical target, and then a consolidation here can take place before the aggressive expansion if the Wyckoff model is intended to have continuation. So you gotta be careful of that when watching for a distribution in this region. Or if this could just be a market maker continuation model, given the bearish context on Solana, high probability POI directly above the accumulation. And, some liquidity there, although this is a pretty high probability pivot locally. Leaving the equal highs, sweep of the low with that aggressive break. So we're going to see. Maybe, this is where you want to tap into to form your range low somewhere inside of here before getting that move back up. Still, though, that BULPS region, so want to be careful. And also the first move, fake move environment that we could potentially be in. Put that on the chart just to remind myself of that potential scenario. So if it does start playing out, then we can just instantly switch to looking for longs. If we start seeing some expansions, we're like, okay, now I see what's actually happening here. This distribution just went over into that higher time frame compression, and that it didn't actually have the. You are seeing, like, coming into this region, that make or break it level prior to potentially getting rotation all the way down. You're just seeing a lot of wicking of the low right here, and then coming down, wicking the low, accumulating. Like, you accumulated here, expanded up, accumulated here, and now you're coming up a bit. But each of the times there's accumulations, this time the accumulation was with bearish purpose, so it could be the same case here. Market make a continuation on down. Get a sip of water. Okay, scan through the pairs once again. Really starting to get extended in this range. Looking like it's compressing a bit as well. XRP is still in this distributive environment. Yeah, not really a third tap POI, so preferably just get a model 1, for example. Still not really liking the context necessarily. What is this? Okay. Bitcoin locally trying to break structure, so we could be getting that higher time frame range formation I was talking about. Yeah, I've been following demand on this move up, so could be a fake break coming into demand to continue that move up as well. We are going to see similar story on ETH. Doge having a pretty clear structure move down. I don't really like looking at this as an accumulation though any longer, just due to how overextended it's gotten. You know, preferably if I'm gonna trade an accumulation and move up, it's gonna be like something like this region right here where you get, you know, your high probability accumulation that can just get that continuation. But now it's taken so long that it's seeming like, you know, you could easily come down and take out that low once more and just build some liquidity for that purpose. Yeah. Things are coming down locally. XRP completed that model. This was the only third tap POI for the Model 2, and that's what it came for. Not a high probability entry I would consider taking. But yeah, you know, the price action's clean. You got the manipulation, sweeping that liquidity, redistribution on that move down after confirming right there, after confirming the order flow objective coming to here. So now I'll be curious to see if price is going to continue the rotation all the way down to here. It's a bit like weird local price action, but yeah, you had that compression, first move, fake move, tapping into the POI, retracement down, tapping, you know, that zone, disrespecting that zone and tapping the low of that zone that created the first move, fake move, technically confirming the rotation down to that range low, then you get the redistribution. So yeah, I will be curious to see if it can make its way down, you know, just for context building purposes. But yeah, not something I would be interested in trading there. And yeah, now that these pairs are starting to get a more extended move to the upside, distributions can start looking nice up here. Yeah, really not much though for now. Maybe we come down and accumulate in the local demand. XRP is showing signs of strength here. Some sort of an accumulation after coming to that technical target. Yeah, really not something I'd be interested in trading. It is a daily range. You can see how you have like, Asia as your range start, and then London, then New York. Bitcoin is locally in some demand. Let's see if there's even a proper entry here. Stream liquidity swept there. New York opened later. Yeah, so like technically this would have been your confirmation. I mean technically there was no valid structure there. Yeah, technically there's no valid structure there. Some sort of a local distribution into that supply. Hit the target. These candles look horrible. Before we get too far ahead, we will check out what these other pairs are doing. God, yeah, man, the bear market volatility is crazy. Crazy low. Some sort of an accumulation on Solana right here as well. All super local. Doge is simply compressing. So I'm going to be curious to see what happened to there. XRP, ETH. Working its way up. Throw this range on the chart just because we can. Bitcoin looking more like we can range in here and form some sort of an accumulation right after getting that bearish break though in the first demand. It's kind of internal. Preferably we get, we could get an accumulation out here, who knows? Come up, create the range high of a distribution, come down, create an accumulation. Just classic range creation stuff. Target back up to that liquidity. Give me one moment though, I need to use the restroom. We are back. Continuing with these potential ideas we had here. We were watching that XRP local model. Sol has something similar. Let's see these daily ranges playing out. Sol's is looking a bit lower quality. Also after tapping into that key supply, but you know, just watch it just to gain the experience, because that's what we're here for. I think it's a bit longer duration. Yeah. XRP's looking quite ugly here. This sharp move, not that good looking. It served its purpose though. No entry there. Check out Solana. Solana just simply went lower. So no model there. Cool to see the concept work though. Had that distribution that came down, leaving straight buy side liquidity. And then you have the daily range there. Technically confirming maybe like a 30-second break. Let's see. Some kind of like a 30-second break here. Is it even? Boom. Boom, yeah. Yeah, so technically confirming a 30-second break of structure. Right there. Oh wait, I was tripping. This is valid structure. Not that I would have entered on it though. Not that I would have entered on it for sure, but I was mistaken. That was valid structure on the 1 minute. Because it looked a bit weird at first due to this singular candle down. But technically you have one move down, the move up, and if you go on the 30-second, this will look clear. That move up, and then you have this move down, where this candle just includes that move down. It could be, a bit trickier if this candle, like within the candle, it went down first and then up. Then you wouldn't have valid structure. If, like, say you went on the 15-second, the price actually went down. Within that candle, price went down and then up. That's why I was looking a little weird on the 1 minute. But nonetheless, that got the completion. There was also this fat supply zone above. Not the greatest return to zone locally within the model. So, yeah, it's something I prefer not to take. But cool to see the concepts getting respected. Pop up there, and it seems like it's outperforming. So, cool to see something that had a valid model being the one that outperforms. ETH somewhat having the opposite, where we got this break of structure bearish forming that range. And locally, this could be a distribution here. I'm not interested in trading yet. I would like to see the main points get swept and not, deal with the internal stuff. Especially here on the lower time frame. Apologies, I had to blow my nose real quick. If you can't tell, I'm a bit under the weather. So just dealing with that, having to drink extra water and blow my nose periodically. But we're still getting the reps in. Okay. Yeah, gonna just continue watching the price action. Seeing Doge getting that first move up being the fake move. So potentially we get this accumulation model completing. And then maybe like a distribution up here or like a move back in that we can, short on a retest or something. But where we can expect the completion of this accumulation to be a first move, fake move within this compression that it created. Bit more interesting though, because usually, you know, when you have those compressing ranges, it's not an accumulation range that goes over into a compression. So I'm not really too sure how that's going to necessarily play out, if it's going to work as the first move fake move, same kind of concept, or if it'll maybe potentially just have an expansion given, you know, the location of the overall market. Just refine that down a bit, just because still ranging here. Yep, ETH had, you know, some sort of an internal 3-tap. XRP squeezed up. That, you know, this wick up did not provide first move fake move with the rotation all the way down to the low. And also didn't really give a great range starting point given this aggressive move. But, you know, we still can get a move down that creates that higher time frame range. So let's see what we rejected on. I'll just leave this overall supply zone here. Just, you know, some supply this overall region, maybe, you know, some exact POI, maybe some liquidity, the liquidity of this block. It kind of seems like you had this block here, swap liquidity from that. Yeah. Seems so. And seeing some sort of a rejection there. And you see, this could be a potential play. This could be a potential play. Bit more risky with the accumulation. I'd really honestly just be curious to observe. Like, say you confirm a distribution here. I'd be very curious to observe if that's going to have the follow through due to this compression. And due to the, you know, how extended and ugly this accumulation is starting to look. Sol, slow move down. Bitcoin sweeping the low. With some closes. Not looking the best yet. But never disregard an idea until it is completely invalidated. Yeah, just being aware that, you know, it's not looking the greatest any longer. ETH, getting the follow through to the downside, you know, kind of just overall having the topping formation inside of here where you got the bearish break. You got, you know, some exhaustion, bearish break, redistribution here. Came up pretty nice, sweeping all that liquidity. Even if I was interested in trading, it doesn't look like there was an entry. Definitely looking more bearish there locally. Oh, Doge sweeping that high. Man, yeah, this reminds me of a Solana distribution. What is that? A Solana distribution we had where you had the confirmed distribution that was leaving liquidity all the way up, and the distribution confirmed front running that range high, but it's like at the same time, why would market makers rotate price all the way back down, leaving that range high intact? Why not sweep it first? So, and that's what ended up happening is it got swept and I got stopped out on that trade. So interesting. Have to see what it wants to do here. 2-day duration, decent. Yeah, the Model 1 would be ideal, sweeping that range high. Looks like we already are coming into the Model 2 POI, where I missed the initial first move into it. I'm getting a breaker structure here. Yeah. We got this, but this is also backed by demand. I'll see what happens locally here, if we can come up higher. Yeah, sweeping the high. Coming up a bit fast to trade a Model 1. But there we go, get the tap. See how this looks. See, I'm liking the idea with the sweep. Getting some bullish closes, though, above that range high. Yeah, want to see some acceptance, like with some, Model 2. Yeah, not the greatest looking high. Let's see what else going on. Bitcoin getting a squeeze up. ETH, yeah, everything getting a squeeze up locally here. Still interested in this range here on ETH. Bitcoin, similar opportunities if we can, reject though, because we came up a bit aggressive. We could look for something. It is getting a bit large though, relative to the size of a distribution I would have preferred to have traded. So it's not looking the greatest. Like this would have been better. This size. Yeah, you came all the way down there. Yeah, it's not looking as nice. Looking a bit more bullish, if anything, where you got, your level 1 breaker structure, then you trended up for a bit, and then you came down and you got this level 2 break. Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna see. Preferably though, most preferable situation is we come down like this. XRP consolidating up here. Watching that high for distribution. Same with Solana. Getting a bit extended here. It's still complete, but yeah, this is where I say, like, if you start squeezing up, the distribution is no longer looking that great. We're gonna have to see. What was I watching? Doge, yeah. Yeah. Not looking great. from a distribution perspective, but cool to see that we got the accumulation to complete. Good to see it work. A little bit lower time from there. See if we can just distribute into the supply, honestly, and just form a new range. Yeah, I'm really not looking at this any longer. Like, it's trying to do this. But look at that high. Come on, that's screaming. That liquidity screams and once again take it up. I've seen bad highs like that, like the XRP all-time high, where it just goes down and that's just it. It's not something I'm looking to get involved in, though. Yeah. I called that, man. They couldn't have given me something better than that. Come on. Clean breaker structure probably inside of there, and it's just like, come on. Okay, third time POI, just a horrible looking high. Like, look at that. Oh my god. But you did get that first move fake move. I'm gonna remove the distribution here. So maybe we can look at it come down now and form some sort of an accumulation at that low. XRP seems to be behaving in a distributive fashion. It's also showing some strength. But this was that situation I was talking about where you don't overrule it as market structure just because this pop-up was aggressive. One, we can label that as manipulation for sure. And also, you had liquidity build up straight to it. And we're going to get at the POI. Yeah, I'm interested in a short here, although the high is pretty low quality. Yeah, this high is also pretty low quality. What is it? Yeah, why do they gotta do that? I don't see the reason. Yeah, some consolidation could be nice, but at the same time, you're coming up leaving nothing but sell side liquidity there. What is going on here? Kind of looks like some sort of a topping formation there on ETH. Some ugly top. I feel like I've seen ETH do before, honestly. I'm trying to think of where I've seen that. It looks like something familiar though, where it's just like you have this, and then you have these like retests, but the retests have like super weird price action in between, leaving the liquidity until we're gonna see that. We're gonna see. We're also coming into demand though, so be aware. This could just reverse up, leaving liquidity above, getting that aggressive pop into demand right on your New York session. You know, that shit could just get reversed up. You'd want to see New York PM just reverse it though. Bitcoin is similar. There's really nothing but liquidity right here. And now we just have liquidity at this high, so this is the exact region you would need to eject from. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about XRP there. Bitcoin could move somewhat counter context. It looks like we're just ranging, and I'd really prefer to see. Not really seeing that idea playing out that well. You know what we could be having here on Bitcoin. Let's see, how does this look? Preferably get some more exhaustion, but you could get it. Yeah, you also preferably get some more acceptance. Could be. Yeah, it could be. Maybe we could get like a local model in here. Chart definitely looks a lot cleaner if I do that. You know, that perspective on ETH. Yeah, it's like Bitcoin's very low locally. Could come lower for sure. Where XRP was getting this pop up. Those could be an accumulation into a distribution, for real. Yeah, if you did a Model 1 like that, that could be nice. You could just short that right there. This was a nice liquidity sweep there. Doesn't look like this is going to be playing out just yet. But like I was saying, price could want to come deeper. Same time though, a lot of times those compressions, they don't get the third tap. This is your supply, so we can watch that supply for redistributions. Solana seems to have, flipped that accumulation into some sort of a distribution. Pretty clean POI, actually. Huh. Wasn't really looking at it from that perspective. Don't usually trade the distribution to accumulations. But I was looking at it from the market maker continuation model perspective. Curious to see if that works now. So yeah, the altcoins are looking a bit more bearish though than... I mean, Bitcoin and ETH did have those topping formations. Like, you had this extreme liquidity sweep. It's kind of like overlapping with this thing. Not the highest quality POI there, but you did tap into that inefficiency. Super aggressive pop-up into it though. That you can't really label as manipulation. Yeah. Not a super high quality entry. Let's see if XRP wants to do anything interesting here. You see you come up like that. Although you just have liquidity above, this could be what creates a proper third tap POI. Where you get a nice bearish move down, and then you can come back up into that. And then the model, looks like that. And it looks much cleaner. Doesn't even need to sweep that low necessarily, but... yeah. It's not the highest quality third tap POI there. This move up is just straight liquidity. After hours on a Thursday. Yeah. Some sort of a demand that's ugly, but let's see. See if we get a local model, maybe. Maybe just wants to correct hard from here. Yeah. Yeah. Doge spike back up. Okay. We're reaching about an hour. I am gonna cut this one here because my nose is running like a motherfucker and I gotta get some dinner in me. So I appreciate you guys for watching. See you later.